Oh, Buster. I see YouTube did another thing again where basically your names are getting jumbled to me again. Oh yeah, the premiere for his video is happening, by the way. I'm setting up and putting together the thumbnails, or rather putting together the tweet. Find it with lungs. You can fuck around about it. You go, hey, son. Do 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 do. What is this window? That's my full screen. Okay, so a couple of notes. While I have everything set up as I did yesterday for a TikTok studio, it is very, 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 very adamant that whenever I am doing that I'm reacting and doing content that is based on conversations, that the chat has to keep moving. Because the automatic bots will claim that I'm not engaging with the content if I am taking long pauses in between things where I'm answering questions from you all, and it will actively turn the stream off. It is very, very, very important, especially if we're doing call and response and feedback, that people talk. Just word to the wise for people who didn't know. I don't like that they have that system, but that's what they do. They like using bots to automate everything, and the bots do not know the difference between context on watching material or the fact that I'm not speaking to something that's not there or something that is taking its time. $4 and 22 minutes. No. Shoot. Fall up on that. Button duration, every aspect of content moderation is already not good. Well, of course not. But you keep in mind, it's fucking TikTok of all things. They would not be able to do anything with that platform to monitor half the shit that happens if they didn't use bots. Which means the only real way that I can use it without a problem is that I have to use video games at the same time. Which makes it iffy. But you know, it is what it is. I'm going to be serious. I've never heard of Leaflet Masari, but if it looks like whatever I think it looks like a dual pair. It doesn't look like a split personality VTuber. Alright.
So I just want to say thank you for actually having a talk. I mean, it's not really common, so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So we have White Woman versus German Femboy. Place your bets. One of the embeds on the page is a conversion therapy link to the Trevor Project. That's emmed onto the video by the fucking YouTube system. Place your bets on how this conversation is going to go.
I mean, the thing is, like, I know that people are really, I think, kind of scared when those of, like, opposing views or political alignments are just, like,
Scared is an interesting word. Naira TV is the German one. That should be obvious to Dwayne. Scared is an interesting way to phrase that. Because people aren't scared of political opinions, they're annoyed by them, Naira.
having a conversation.
Yeah, I know we've both gotten backlash for having this thing. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. And like we did talk a little bit about stuff, right? So I think there actually is some. Oh, I should tweet it. I did tweet it. I guess I should retweet it again. You're telling me I didn't tweet it. I did tweet it. You know, I'll quote tweet it. Line down.
However, brief aside, whenever dealing with people, hold on. When dealing with people of any type of situation for content, it is definitely imperative that you need to at least tweet out the content that you are appearing on or that your content creator is appearing on so that you can get as many eyes on it as possible. Otherwise, it is entirely impossible for you and other people to be able to discuss things collectively. Because the more eyes you have on events like this, the more straightforward it is to make sure that they go as intended. Because if you don't, it is going to be impossible for you or other people to be able to make sure that things get done the way that you would like them to be done. It is so serious. Exposure is probably one of the most annoying things to have to deal with when it comes to things like debates and content creation. But you have to work with it, because if you don't work with it, if you don't expose it as a part of the material, you're not going to get the kind of reaction you want from a debate otherwise. Because literally, when you have people show up on a debate, just like when I showed up on my debate for WIC TV, it's going to be a case of literally, who are these people? And hey, I recognize that YouTuber. And then anything that happens afterwards is going to be based off of whether or not people know who this person is, to know what kind of antics they get down on and get down to know whether or not they are doing some lolcow-like behavior. Otherwise, there is no point to debate. Because originally, the point of a debate is to be able to actually win people over from the middle. Because you're going to have detractors on both sides that are going to fucking spurg and say their favorite content creator won. But it's supposed to be the job of the uninformed people who would not be swayed by in-group bias and tribalism to hear the opinions that are being discussed by the people that are appearing and find out what's closer to the truth than what most people would expect to be discussed. And unfortunately, in most people's cases, they don't ever do that with debates, because they end up becoming a tribal shit-flinging contest. Considering the fact that it's Naira of all people, this means if you know anything about Naira, you're already going to be against them, because all they do is spurg about politics 24/7 on Twitter. They never shut the fuck up about it. So figuring out what to do from there makes it kind of clear what kind of shit you're really dealing with. Well, the tweet describes the content, as does the title, NeoJ. I don't know what else to say there, bro. Because nowadays, the entire point of debate is basically watch your favorite YouTuber possibly trounce somebody who, from the onset, you know is going to be going into the debate in bad faith. Because that's what most debates end up being. One side is going in good faith and is going out of the fact that they have been annoyed with the person for so long that the only way to keep that person honest is to put them in front of a live studio audience, so they no longer have the ability to respond after they've researched an answer and gotten a feedback loop from ChatGPT or whoever's feeding them information. And then the other side goes in basically trying to clout shark and clout seek information off of that person the entire time during the debate. Anytime you've dealt with any person like this, or seen any debate like this between people, even when the people themselves that are debating things are themselves scumbag-like, take, for example, Destiny versus Actual Jake, or Vosh versus Count Dankula, or fucking Sitch and Adam versus Actual Fandom, and I forget that goddamn guy's name, because it was a recent one, literally last week on last Sunday. Other Dimension, something Dimension. You always are going to have a side that is more than likely going to be unhinged, and the other side that is basically the barometer of common fucking sense. Most people organize to chaos. Thank you, Ace Detective. You usually have somebody who's going to be the one on the side of rationality, and the other one who basically is going to either have the outfield advantage or the home field advantage. If they're a literal who, they get the outfield advantage of basically the shit that they say during the debate just becomes a part of the lore and a part of their backstory and possibly gets them more exposure. If you have the infield advantage, you have all the problems that come with normal debates and more, which is people pulling microphones, people deafening you in the middle of your speech, acting as though they don't know what the fuck you're talking about when you literally were brought there off the provocation of behavior, pretending they don't know what you're talking about, deleting the tweets mid-debate that you refer back to that is the entire point for creating the situation that brought you there, and other shit like this. Leftist behavior basically has destroyed it. Debate bro tactics have basically destroyed the purpose of a natural debate. Because normal debates come as a discussion. Because two people who are informed about what they're talking about are going to naturally arrive at some basic conclusions and some basic arguments. So if somebody were to come to me about a debate about anything that I've done or anything that I've discussed concerning something like Helldivers or the behavior of such people dealing with other shit that they're dealing with, like, say, drama inside of a player base or a community like Arc Raiders, which I've been covering for the last week leading up to Thanksgiving, it's going to be very easy, even for somebody like myself that did not play Arc Raiders yet, to be able to go through information in detail and say, this is real, this is fake, that's bullshit, PSYOP, blah 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 blah, Clout Shark, blah 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 blah. However, the benefit we have here is that we have more than enough examples of Naira acting like a Spurg Lord that it's going to be really hard for them to kind of wiggle their way out of the shit that they're going to talk about, no matter what it is they're going to talk about. Because, you know, all you really got to do if you really want to throw a fucking curveball is just mention Anavalans and what do you think about all this shit that you supported concerning Anavalans. Because the more you know about the person that's there, the more ammunition you have to really use against them. Because, well, shit. Look at Smash JT. Like, look at Smash JT versus Colin Moriarty. Colin knows what the fuck he's talking about in that situation. Smash JT is at best a grifter. He doesn't have any context to the things that he does because, as far as he's concerned, Circana is a scam, and Circana numbers are designed to get people to believe a narrative that if the numbers were not the numbers, he could then use to make even more clickbait. Which then leads to people like me making a video like Grifters of Yotze. And then, after talking about that, if I were to get into a debate with him, I would just simply have the talking points that I already have, and no matter what the subject matter pivoted to, I would have the ability to address whatever he said, and I would drag him right back to the points that are necessary, because there are critical things that people in the middle need to hear about and need to discuss that otherwise would not be discussed because of basic decorum. Which, another thing you need in debates is moderators. You shouldn't just be two people with raw microphones unless you can trust that that person's going to behave thusly. Because, you know, shit, look at Caleb Hammer in his financial auditor show. There are plenty of people who go on there that are delusional as fuck, including a particular person that was like the responsible reason for why his show ended up blowing up, and the fact that every time that guy's on the camera, if his mouth is open, he's lying. So you have to be critical enough to keep them in the topic that you're talking about, and to keep them on subject, and to keep them on brand, so that they cannot go towards Spurg City. So at best, the entire point of debates now is to basically show who's a fucking crazy person, and who is sane. Carl, you know better that Smash is never going to debate you. More than likely not. People like Smash are not going to speak to people like me directly. But I've had plenty of conversations with different people that I've been talking to recently. Specifically, even when I show up in her Discord when she is there, when she's like on her job and on her shift, with people like Cassie. Because everything that I learned, that I've been using as the basis of my opinion, came directly from the mouth of a Smash JT moderator, who apparently, after talking to me, claimed that I was a leftist, despite me being at best a moderate. And a centrist. A real centrist. So, like, that's mostly what a debate exists for. If anything, it serves as an opportunity to lay out an argument so that when you can speak clearly on the matters that you're concerned with, people cannot claim that you think something that you don't. Because this is how you get individuals like the Act Man to basically claim that you're something at a distance. Because right now, what you have to deal with is that because notoriety is what creates the attraction to most debates, the infamy or the fame of the people involved. A person, if they have never discussed things in such a way, like, say, for example, if at any point in time, Anthony Gramuccio was actually to have a discussion, which would then turn into a pseudo-debate between members of EPAP and himself, concerning how people like Mahler and Rags and so on are supposed to be grifters and bad content creators. The point of that debate would be making it clear that you'd have to define and show what Anthony Gramuccia defines as a grifter. And doing that would create the opportunity to then provide the basis of argument and argumentation, to then argue back against their own words and their own actions. Because the things that you say during a live stream is entirely different than what you would do with a prepared response and a reply on a video essay. Because as we've seen, even amongst the left, with people like Noah Samson versus Vosh, video essayists are only clever in the edit. They're not clever and trained rhetoricians live. Sad to fucking say, I'm about to praise Vosh, prepare yourselves. Sad to say, even fucking mental retards like Ian Kaczynski, Vosh, are capable of understanding the nexus necessary for a discussion to revolve around a subject matter that is not just basically weasel words designed to make you look bad by implication, because you can just come out and say, so when you called me a rapist, what did you mean by that? Basically. It's like, here's a documentation that shows that I'm not on the sexual registry. Click, click, click. What are you going to do about that? When you lay it out on the table, it makes it very hard to avoid things, because you have to then gish gallop even harder, and sea lion even harder, and concern troll even harder. The copter traps don't work as well, because you just come straight out with it. It's like accusations don't matter. Tell me what I am to my face, basically. Alright, enough preamble.
Okay. Alright. Sorry. But yeah, like, we talked a little bit about stuff. I don't think it went, like, too poorly, at least. So, I think a lot of people do misunderstand, like, a lot of your views. Like, I had some people talk to me about it in chat just the other day, and I told them I don't really agree with how they viewed it. So, I just want to hear it, like, from yourself. Like, I mean, what did you want to talk about, like, right now? I know there's a lot to talk about, right? But whatever you want to go for first, I think. Like, did you want to talk about Straub first or anything like that? I guess Straub is where it started, right? The whole thing.
Kind of. I mean, we can basically just like talk about. We can like start with like trans stuff. Like, I know that a lot of people.
How expected. Hey, Mr. Trans, what are you here to talk about? I would like to talk about trans issues and trans rights.
I think they don't necessarily know that you have like trans friends and relatives and so on. That you actually are more in the LGBTQ community than they think.
It is my job in my security to make sure that people know that you are one of us, because it is very important to me that I expose that you are one of us and not one of them. Yes, I need them to know.
Yeah.
And you grew up on Tumblr?
No, I didn't grow up on Tumblr. My brother did, and I was kind of exposed to a lot of the thought there, so I kind of do understand a lot of it. But maybe I don't, and maybe we can talk about like what the differences are there. So I mean, do you want to talk about sorry, Caesar, you want to talk about the trans stuff first, or do you want to talk about Straub and then like into the trans stuff, because like the Straub stuff's related, right?
I think that a lot of it is like pretty linked. I think it's kind of like useful to kind of have like a baseline understanding. Okay. Because like you told me that you disagree with like some trans stuff, but
I mean, most people disagree with most trans stuff, Nair, let's be serious. Most trans issues and trans topics are very, very hard for people to get behind and in front of, because they require top-down stringent agreement and control, which people are not willing to give you because they don't trust you. They don't trust you. They don't trust you to be honest. They don't trust you to be serious. They don't trust you to keep the scope of the conversation where it needs to be, and you spend a lot of time playing wishy-washy with phrases and words, to the point where most people can't trust whether or not you have good intentions at heart. And you never usually do. So, take that and the usual behavior of the regular screen individual who chooses to behave the way that they do on a regular case basis, with the majority of what they could have as a part of their viewpoints and their opinions and the shit that they care about, the shit that they talk about, the constant antagonism. It is literally all of the things that are subsuming about the transgender culture. Because transgenderism is not just, here I am an FTM or an MTF. It is that you are some kind of elevated being. By becoming trans, you have transcended the binary, and you have entered into this godlike state that is forever transitioning, that unless you are transgender, you can never understand a person's viewpoint. As though empathy and sympathy is impossible. That is the beginning of most problems. And people describing things about transgenderism in this way is why I do that. Yes, I know, my mocking of Naira is fairly accurate because I listen to dumb people when they talk. That's how Naira speaks on transgender issues. Oh, you've mocked me until you do not know how it is, how I feel about how I do things. I am just simply trying to spread joy and peace and love and want people to understand us. Meanwhile, what's in them Discord messages, boy? What's in them Discord messages, boy? The thing to remember here is that disposition precedes ideology. Disposition precedes ideology. True, Ace, true. So, before Naira was transgender and was a woke scold, they were an asshole and a moral relative bigot. It is impossible for Naira to sympathize with somebody unless they agree to the 36 chambers of the purity spiral that goes with progressivism. If you don't step into the 36 chambers and also take your tea medicine, then you're a bad person. Should not be the way that works out, but that is how Naira goes about their behavior online. Especially when they get involved with people like Anna Valens. Which, when you look into what Anna does, this person wants to, okay, we'll see you later, Boster. This person wants to cover for an individual who uses transgenderism as a fetish to allow themselves to access more and more fetishes so that they can be able to monetize their kink and then also use transgenderism as a protective status so that they don't have to be judged for trying to get into and effectively trick people by joining things like a VTuber company that's specifically designed to pander to men by being hypersexual for the male gaze and male perspective, utilizing kinks that effectively are a replacement for normal fetishes like gigantism and demon mommy milkers. The same way that people choose to get away with using the new Joyzy Meowth voice as a replacement for a personality. All of the things that go along with the normal expected opinions and perspectives of transgender people, regardless of Marina, regardless of Naira, regardless of the other transgender activists and also transgender streamers themselves that are hyper-political woke scolds that browbeat people regularly. Naira is a person that there is infinite ammunition to attack, so it's not that hard to imagine what their position is because the mental model of how they behave, it's right there on social media. You can find it.
Also, like, respectful and so on, so I'm kind of... I do have like some basic questions.
Okay.
Just like some quick yes or no questions, so it's just like know where you stand and where we like fundamentally agree or like disagree.
Yeah, sure. And then I can ask the ones like just to make sure we're not like straw manning each other, right? So like, yeah, you gotta ask whatever. I'll answer it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want this to be like a gotcha. It's just like where, you know,
Yeah.
what I need to
Place your bets. How long is that request gonna last? Place them now.
address, right?
Yeah.
Because like I know that I've heard that you were like more progressive. Like that you kind of like your content has kind of like shifted
So,
over the
sorry, go ahead.
last period.
I can answer that. So there's been a lot of people talking about this, but I've actually had the same beliefs for a very long time. At least 10 years. I'll say at least 10 years. I've had kind of these beliefs, and I used to not talk about politics because everyone told me not to. But I was actually always interested in it. So my YouTube feed was always like kind of philosophical, political, sorts of content, debates, for instance. Like I really like debates, just ideas, and this is because me and my friends, this is what we do in real life. Like, me and my friends. This sounds kind of dumb, but like me and my friends will go out and we'll just debate, and that'll be like our idea of a good time is like eating food and debating, like stupid stuff, really. Like
Talking to your friends about adverse ideas and not immediately attacking them as though they are a problem? Oh my. That's like, I don't know. It's almost like you enjoy talking to people. And they're allowed to have diverse opinions? And you don't cut them out of your life? Gasp! I am lost on what to do with myself to the point I'm about to fucking start playing the Insane Trilogy.
just ridiculous things that have nothing to do with anything, but we would just debate it anyway. So late at night when I would play games, right? I would play. I would do a little bit of talking, and then I would play some game, and then I would play like late night, or I'd play like a bunch of PvP games. During that time, I would talk a lot about politics. So that's why a lot of people didn't know about it, because it would be like at 2 a.m. Where like after like the main part of the stream is over, a lot of people are in bed. Then
You just log on, you become a Gimlin, you log into the league session, and all of a sudden you have deep opinions about Israel Palestine. The normal opinion, the normal reaction.
and I would talk about it. So yeah, I mean, it's not really people who know from that time know I've always talked about this stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
I know that like, I guess growing up like years ago and so on, I went down like a similar rabbit hole with like the anti-SJW, John Peterson owns woke feminist type of videos, and I just
So the childish form of what many people would have grown out of, because who allows that to be the viewpoint that forms the opinion that they have about the rest of what they get involved into with content creation? Oh, everybody must be still stuck in that 2008 to 2016 era of pre and then post Gamergate lolcowdom, where you listen to how Jordan Peterson or whatever guest speaker, Christina Hoff Sommers, fucking Milo, or whatever, went to a university and epically owned some fucking person that was being fucking ridiculous. Yes, we were all there. We all lived through it. Unfortunately, that's not the way that the world works anymore, bro. And even then, it was like that's a very big margin that most people don't even care about anymore. Because they can't go to universities to speak their opinions, Naira. Do you know why? What did you tweet on November 10th? Excuse me, September 10th.
just
Jordan, right?
because I
Jordan?
didn't have like a lot of like social awareness and a lot of like context. I always, I thought like, oh, they're like irrational,
Mm-hmm.
So like I can just like easily dismiss them.
Yeah.
And right now I'm just like I'm viewing things in a different light.
Okay. I mean, that's good. It's
So,
always good to do that, I think.
yeah. Because I'm trans, I think a main point is obviously like my identity. So I'm just going to like ask you straight up, like, do
Okay.
you view me as a woman?
No, because you're not a woman. You are genetically a man. You socially do not behave like a man. I can give you that. You socially behave like a woman, but you're genetically a man. There's nothing you can do to change that. You were born a man, you're going to die with the DNA of a man. Everything else that you do from there is literally social structuring.
Well, I don't know you enough, so it's kind of hard for me to do that. But I'll respect it. Like, are we okay if I call you they or something like that? Is that acceptable? Because I don't know you enough. I don't really know like your story. But I'm not gonna call you a he.
Yeah. What do I need to fulfill so you?
Well,
she?
I think for me it's really just about how much I know a person. That's really all it is, really. It's not really objective. It's like fully subjective, I think. I'm just being honest.
But only when it comes to trans people.
No.
No, all people. Because I can't say if somebody is male or female just based on, well, you see, I look at them and I see this and I saw a penis, so obviously it must be a man or a woman. That's not usually how most people come to the trans question. The way that most people arrive at the trans question is they arrive at the trans question in a normal fashion of, do I think this person is normal and do I think this person deserves my respect and or sympathy, yes or no? Most people are going to arrive at that conclusion and they're going to say to themselves, I don't know if this person is or isn't this thing. All I can go off is vibes, and my vibes tell me one thing or another. That's it. That's at best what they can give you.
Well, it depends on my perception of the person, right? At least for me.
Do you call cis people?
Sorry.
They?
Sorry. Yeah, if I don't know, like if there's a person I don't know, then yeah, I'll say that. Yeah. If I don't really know like much about them, I call a lot of people they actually. Even people that are like kind of like more I know more. Well, how do I explain it? I've heard of them, but I don't really know them. But yeah. I don't really mind, honestly, calling you she, to be honest. It's not really a big deal for me. If that make you happy, I could do it.
There's like something
for the context of like
I would need to like prove to you, so you call me like Shia.
Well, yeah, because I feel like what you call people is really kind of, and this one I haven't really like thought about like too much. I'm gonna be completely honest and like I'll be completely honest here. It's really just how I perceive the person. If that makes sense. Because like
so
you use pronouns.
The pronouns under others.
You sorry. Let me clarify a little bit. You use pronouns, right, to basically replace like a person in your own language, right? So it's
the person's name.
Yeah. So for instance, right, like if I see a person and like I perceive them like in public, right? For instance, like if I couldn't tell at all, and then I met you in public, I wouldn't look it up, right, to like misgender you or whatever. And I wouldn't even do it even if I did know, right? So even if I did know about you, like I wouldn't do that just to be rude.
So like if you would see me in real life.
Yeah, I could use it like if we were friends, right? If we were close friends, and you told me that you wanted to identify as a woman, then I'm not gonna go out with you in public and then be like he. It'd be awkward, right? It'd be like kind of messed up, I think.
Well, you see, that's where you're wrong, because what a friend would truly do is they'd be like, hey, yo, bro, do you want anything from this thing? Yeah, bro, I could definitely get that. And then they walk over, and then they're like, BAM! Just literally. It's just it's like the fucking meme of that girl from TikTok that dresses up like a member of the fucking Crucible and just goes, witch! That's what a true friend would do. Your true colors would shine through. And you would be like, yeah, that's my homie. My homie just calls me that everywhere we go. Or maybe I'm the weird one because I'm the person who just has friends that will do shit like that to me. The less we say about what I get called by certain members of my entourage, the better.
I wouldn't do that.
So
but
if we are friendly, then
yeah, basically it comes down to so the reason I'm so kind of sticky on this one is I think for me it's I don't really want my language to be policed. Does that make sense?
I mean,
So it's like I want to say what I want about a person. Like and like for instance, like if I and you know you might not agree with this and people might not agree with this, but like I reserve the right, and I'm not saying this about you, but I'm just giving an example, okay? I reserve the right to like call you a bitch, and then like you have the right to call me a bitch, and like I just how I feel about it, basically. It's not really complicated.
is it like speech policing to like tell you my pronouns and like my identity?
Yes, of course it's speech policing for you to do that, you jackass. How would you like it if every single time somebody went around somewhere that they had to remind you that you're still living in a man's world, and therefore you need to refer to people by the proper pronoun? It'd be no different than stop calling a woman out her name, boy. The bigotry and racism of yesteryear would come shining through. In any other context, you would fully understand this. In this context alone, suddenly it's difficult to get, which makes it weird. You know, Carl, you're just underrated, and that's why I like you as a content creator. You like me as a content creator because I'm underrated and thus not talked about more often. No, I'm joking. But no, we all have the right to call people what we want. As has always been the case, pronouns are a part of a language that are used specifically for the intention of being able to make sure people understand what it is they're talking about and whomst they're talking about. It's not just a thing that just gets brought up and then gets thrown away like trash just to be evil and inconsiderate. That is not how most people go about using it. There are some people that do that, but that's neither here nor there. Break. Damn it.
Well, it depends. Basically, depends on like how it is. I think in the context of this one, I'm a little bit. I'm totally fine. Honestly, conceding this and just saying using female. I'm honestly fine with that. If that makes you happy.
I mean, no, I'm just like in general, I'm kind of like curious.
Curious
right
as
now
to like
where you stand because
the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, because like for me it's like obviously like someone's pronouns is just like a replacement for like someone's name, and if someone wants to be referred to as like he him because that's like their gender identity, or she her because that's like their identity, and like I don't see a reason why I should like judge and I should like be like no actually I am going to call you whatever like fits into my worldview. Right? Like what I perceive, my perception determines like what I call you.
Well, it's more like I could call you whatever I want, right? That's how I feel about it. And I think for
sure.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
But it's like basic human decency, I think.
Yeah, so that's what I said. Like if I knew you, we were friends and we were on amicable terms, then I wouldn't mind using it. That's what I said. Right. Like, I don't really feel too strongly about it, to be honest. Like this particular topic, I think the only thing that would bother me is if you asked me to use some weird words. Then I'd be a little bit iffy on it, because it's kind of imposing like a strange language that is going to be difficult to like parse, basically. Because then you have to remember for each person, right?
Like a neopronoun.
Well, that one would be easy. Like she her would be easy. Like I wouldn't mind that. I actually wouldn't.
Yeah, but
I know a lot
used to be like a neopronoun.
What do you mean by that? I don't know the term,
like,
neopronoun.
You know, like neopronouns, like seek, sim, or something.
Wait, what?
That is what.
So things that don't exist, Naira. People don't use neopronouns. They use the normal present participles and the normal articles. like V. When you start getting into neopronouns, this is where you're going to lose people, Naira, but I think you know that on purpose. I think you're fucking around with her opinions. I think you're playing a game right now.
What she, her used to be.
What do you mean?
Like, instead of you calling someone he, you're calling them she or sir or whatnot.
Yeah,
Faye or fair.
So you're saying
That's
there's...
like what you refer to with, like, weird words, I guess?
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But, like, you know, at some point, everybody was just being referred to as he, him. So, she, her used to be, like, some new thing.
Oh, no, I mean... Oh, you mean she, her used to be, like... It used to be back in the day. And, like, old... Like, I guess whenever the language was invented. Like, they would use different words.
Yeah. Exactly.
The thing is I feel like
just
at
like
that
how
point...
language evolves. Like,
well,
you know...
yeah, go ahead, sorry. I'll let, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
No, it's fine.
Oh, I was gonna say, basically, those words, like, they're not really used by many people, and a lot of the times people will use very specific personal ones. And I think... And not only that, it's also... And, you know, this is kind of a separate issue. It's just the entire, like, I feel like the entitlement behind it. Of, like, you have to call me this. I'm just not a fan of that. So, like, one thing I will, like, say straight up is a lot of my angle is, like, liberty. So I've kind of, like, a freedom angle, which is why I agree that you should be able to do whatever you want when you're an adult. It's the same thing.
Sure, but, like... I don't really understand, like, how it's, like, difficult to, like, respect someone's pronouns.
Well,
like,
it's...
Because it is a thing that you do with a person who you know, and if I don't fucking know you, I'm going to call you some type of borrow word that is going to be easily recognizable as a neutral tone. And when you start tone policing me, I'm going to look you in the face and tell you, shut the fuck up. Period. That's why. When you impose something on me and tell me I have no choice but to do this, I'm going to look at you and say, watch me, bitch. Because who are you to tell me what to do? Type shit. Pretty simple. It's pretty simple, bro.
I
just don't understand, like, the angle. Like,
I
it
see
doesn't
what you
take
mean.
anything away from me.
I understand what you mean. So it's not really so you said that it's about respecting the other person, right? And that's the issue. It's easy to respect them, right? The other person.
Sure.
Well, I guess for me, it's I don't respect people right away, and maybe that's like a difference that we have.
The thing is, like, I feel like the difference is that, like, you just perceive trans people differently than, like, a cis person. If you have, like, if you meet, like, a stranger on the street and they are just, like, a cis woman and they present
so, like,
traditionally, like, feminine and so on, you're just going to, like, assume she, her.
So actually,
and for trans people, they have to, like, earn this right, this privilege to be called by their pronouns.
So actually, specifically in this case, if it was just she, her pronouns, I actually wouldn't care. Like, I'd use it, honestly. Like I have with many people before.
Okay.
Well, it's because I know very little about you, right? It's like I don't really know what you're about. I don't want to make a mistake, which is why I said I would just I would totally be fine with just saying, like, okay, you know what, fair enough, and then I could just use your preferred pronouns if that makes you happy. Just out of courtesy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's like something like a privilege that I need to, like, earn.
Yes! It is a privilege! If you don't know somebody, you don't get to tell them what to do! Yes! You're so close to getting it!
See what you mean. That it's a privilege that you have to earn. Well,
yeah.
I think so, yeah. I think it's different when you're in person. Because I don't think I do that in person, actually, now that I think about it. Like, if I think about it, like, for serious. Like, if I met a trans person in person and they were clearly, you know, it was easy to tell that, like, they were actually trans. They weren't like a drag performer or something like that, for instance, right? I don't think I would mind using whatever pronouns they want. But then, you know, obviously, like, if I fuck up, I would expect, you know, a little bit of grace, you know. But yeah, I don't really mind.
If you, like,
Yeah, fair enough. I don't think I would mind actually.
Time.
I don't think I would mind actually. Fair enough. It's not really
It's
like an
just
important
like-
thing to me.
Like for me, it just like sounds like
Mm-hmm.
some underlying like the root cause. Like I would just say like the root cause of it is like transphobia.
Mm-hmm.
Like to
Once again, for the 15th billionth time in existence, transphobia implies that I am scared irrationally of you. Life is not Tumblr. When you say people are scared of you, you need to back it up. You cannot back it up. Stop saying people are scared of you. They're not.
not view that trans women as like real women. Like they have to prove to you.
Transgender women are not real women in the sense that they are not biologically women. Which is why when somebody feels uncomfortable with somebody who goes out of their way to actively cause discomfort by being exceedingly rude and forceful to try to get their way about something, people are going to look at them and say, yeah, I don't want that person near me because you behave like a predator. And you know that's the problem. Why are we playing games?
That they are like
I guess
that they
this is
deserve.
I guess this is the question:
to be
is I don't
comfortable.
know. I don't know nowadays, right? Because I feel like a lot of the how do I explain it? I feel like, and this is, if I can ask, how long were you? How long have you been? What's the word? Transitioned. If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to answer. If it's...
Wrong question. You just pissed them off. How long have you transitioned is the question you ask a person who's sane. Naira TV is not sane. Because if you ask them how long have they been transitioned, you are asking an implicit question that is not going to have an easy answer, because they're not going to want to respond to the nature of how long have they been transitioned, because transition implies that there is a final state to achieve. And that's a no. It's an experience and a journey and a walk of life. It's an experience and a journey and a walk of life. And implying that there is an end to that journey, oh, that's the end of his rights.
So
Makes you uncomfortable.
I came out with 22. I've been dealing with gender dysphoria for like my entire life.
How
and
many
I started
years?
medically transitioning at 25.
Okay,
I mean,
so it's been
I
about.
knew at like 7 years old, so like 22 years ago.
How would you know what transgenderism is at 7 years old? Let's play that back again.
Like my entire life.
How
and
many
I started
years?
medically transitioning at 25.
Okay,
mean,
so the, how do I explain it? I feel like, and this is, if I can ask, how long were you? How long have you been? What's the word? Transitioned. If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to answer if it makes you uncomfortable.
I came out with 22. I've been dealing with gender dysphoria for like my entire life.
How
and I
many
started
years?
I've been dealing with gender dysphoria my entire life. I came out as gay because you wouldn't be coming out as trans. You'd be announcing that you're transitioning. Because before you became a transgender male to female, you were a gay male. But then you decided you had dysphoria, or you were diagnosed with dysphoria. I didn't hear you say you were diagnosed with dysphoria, so yeah, that's a little bit hard for me. Can you make sure that you said that you were diagnosed with dysphoria, bro?
medically transitioning at 25.
Okay,
I mean,
so
I could have swore I heard him say something about something at the age of 7.
were you? How long have you been? What's the word? Transitioned. If you don't mind me asking, you don't have to answer if it makes you uncomfortable.
I came out with 22. I've been
Pause. Why would it be uncomfortable for Naira TV to talk about transgenderism and their transgender status? That's literally all a part of their identity. They should be more than happy to come forward and talk about that.
dealing with gender dysphoria for like my entire life.
How
and
many
I started
years?
medically transitioning at 25.
Okay,
I
so
mean,
it's
I
been
knew
about.
at like 7 years old, so like
There we go. I'm not crazy. I'm not living in a live Mandela catalog. You knew that you were transgender at 7. You're 20. You started 25. You wouldn't have been exposed to transgenderism until your teens. At best. So how the fuck did you know? Who groomed you, little German boy? Who groomed you, little German boy?
22 years ago.
Okay. Oh, so I mean, but you've gone through it for about 3 years, correct?
I've been medically transitioning for 3 years.
Okay. Well, I think. So I feel maybe. How do I explain this?
Find your words.
So back in the day, this is kind of like a boomer moment here, but back in the day, there were a lot more, what's the word? There were a lot more, like, standards, a lot more critiquing into, like, a person's identity before they were able to do any sort of medical transition, like back in the day. And I know that's still the case nowadays, it's just not as heavy as it was before. Can we agree on that?
So the thing is like why trans people were expected to be transitioning is because of like the misunderstanding between gender and sex.
Okay.
And it was basically expected that like if you want to be a woman, you have to medically transition, and then you can call yourself a woman if you're female, right? If you're closer aligned with the female sex, then you can claim you're a woman. And that's basically like trans.
Socially transitioning your social status and then following up with your physical body reflecting the transgender state. Yeah, that's how that fucking works. Yes, that's how transitioning works.
Medicalism.
Okay.
It's the same with like expecting to have like the gender dysphoria as like a diagnosis. It also completely invalidates like non-binary people and so on. So there's just like a lot of like there's a lot of like nuance to it, especially considering how expensive medically transitioning is. And like some people, like dysphoria is not just like a black or white thing, like it is a gradient. Like some people are more dysphoric about certain things. Like I had severe dysphoria because of my anatomy, so I had bottom surgery last year. There are a lot of trans.
They got the snip. Maybe that's part of the reason why Naira has so many goddamn problems. They got the snip, and they got the snip before they were truly able to experience the touch of a woman. Or the penis of a man. Who knows? One of the two.
Women who don't want that, and I think that's like completely valid. Like it doesn't take away anything from them being women because their gender identity is still that of a woman.
Okay.
Right?
Can I ask you a simple question, just to kind of, so that we're talking about the same thing? Like, how would you define a trans person?
Someone.
I hear clacking! Can you hear it, chat? Roll it back. I'm gonna turn it up by 300. Can you hear it? Can you hear it?
Because their gender identity is still that of a woman.
Okay.
Right?
Can I ask you a simple question, just to kind of, so that we're talking about the same thing? Like, how would you define a trans person?
Can you hear it, chat? Can you hear the clickety clack of fuck? I need to look for an answer as they look screen left. This is basically the perfect example of exactly what you use a debate for. Naira does not have an immediate answer about what definition they would use of what a transgender woman is or what a transgender is. Notice and remember, when I went on my debate with Aiden on Wick TV, the response and the reply, and the point that I pressed against on Anne, the female that was on the side of the proponent, was explicitly that you need to have some type of status that is not something you can just simply flip-flop between in order to identify as transgender and then flip back to a non-standard answer of what it means to be a man or a woman. In order to be transgender, you need to be somebody who has been identified with gender dysphoria, as it is considered a mental illness in the DSM-5. And by that definition, by defining yourself as that, it means it's not something that you just decide to do. Because if you just want to transition and become trans because you just decided, hey, I think I'd look better as a woman, that is not the same thing as having gender dysphoria. Because without that, you're just taking extreme body modifications. Transgenderism requires the medical attribution, because without it having been adjudicated, and then stamped, and then filed, and sealed, you do not have your T card. And I cannot dap you up as my ticket. Because, as was the point of that joke I made during that debate, you need to be able to define that status legally. Because if we're not going to say the person's identified gender on a card is male or female, but is some type of non-binary status, they need to have the ability to classify into something so that they can not just simply boy mode and girl mode their way legally through life. Because if they are a person who is prideful about their opinion and about their worldview and about their content and about their identity, there's no reason for them to hide it. It's like telling a Jewish or a Catholic person to disguise their religion. The shibboleth does not let you. And considering that the shibboleth here, the cultural password of being transgender, is you have to have an awakening moment, your egg has to be cracked, you must identify yourself as the opposite gender because you have dysphoria, you have the dysphoria because you feel that your parts are wrong, the way that you feel and the way that you live your life socially and the way that you present yourself socially does not reflect the status you were assigned at birth, air quote, and you need to have the medical definition so that they can then say, okay, we're going to start you on this process. You're going to be medically transitioned from male to female or female to male by taking this medication that is going to permanently castrate your body. You have to have it. Otherwise, you are playing with social definitions, and you're not truly committed to what it means to be transgender. Now, socially speaking, the only thing you need to do to be accepted as a transgender man or woman is perform the gender stereotype of your gender and or of your personality. The example I used in the past is the character that was portrayed by Walter Goggins from, forgetting the name of the show. Sons of Anarchy? My brain wanted to say Guns of Anarchy. But Sons of Anarchy. I believe it's Venus de Milo. Somebody can fact check it for me. But the character portrayed by Walter Goggins, or the character portrayed by the gentleman whose name is slipping my mind, who performed Liz Taylor for American Horror Story Hotel, and various other presentations and non-binary presentations of characters and their social status. Most especially the case of Ellis's performance of characters like Lafayette for Truth Blood, which was a gay man who dressed effeminately but was not transgender. This is acceptable expectations for what people have as the social standard they're willing to take. If you are willing to live and present as a man or a woman, and you conform to it, and you do not gish gallop it when it's convenient, so if you don't pull a "it's ma'am" in the middle of a fucking GameStop, then you're fine. Otherwise, that's where people are going to look at you and be like, bro, be for real.
Someone whose gender identity doesn't match their assigned sex at birth.
That came directly from a wiki.
So, can you define sex for me?
I mean, it kind of depends how you go about it. Gender is basically like, or like sex at birth is basically like observed when it comes to like the phenotype.
Yes.
And it's like bimodal.
Okay.
But like you can like medical field and so on isn't actually like sure what is like the best thing because it's like really difficult because of like intersex people existing and so on. Be like, oh, chromosomes, oh, XX chromosome, XY chromosomes, or like gametes or so on.
So like, can just to clarify, because I'm not, I just want to make sure I'm getting your point right. So you actually see you believe that there's a difference between sex and gender. You see gender as the expression, and you see sex as the actual like physical, physical biological sex. Is that how you're referring to it? Just out of curiosity.
I mean, gender expression is a thing, but like gender is like it's like a social construct, but it is all.
Gender is not a social construct. It is a part of sex. Gender expression is a social construct because gender and sex are the things that we're dealing with. I'm not going to take the sociology route. I'm going to take the pure scientific route and then the normie route. For people, gender is your sex, and sex, yes please. Stop it! Gender is your sex, and your sex is your gender. And also still, yes please. They are one and the same to normies. Normies are going to look at you and say, bro, are you a man or are you a woman? Do you have boy parts or do you got girl parts? And so on and so on and so on and so on. They're not going to care. They're going to be serious. When you try to avoid things like this, it's going to make them look at you like you're dumb. Don't play dumb. Playing dumb will piss people off. You know what the fuck she asked you, Naira.
Also, like,
how about sex, though?
Line, obviously, with your biological sex.
So,
sex for me is like your body's like the phenotype, reproductive organs, and so on.
So I won't use you as an example because I don't want to get into that. But let's say there's a person that is a female to male transsexual. Okay, and so do you believe that their sex is still female? Yes, transgender. Sorry, whatever term. Would you consider their sex to still be female?
It kind of depends if they medically transitioned. So okay, when it comes to transitioning, right? You got your genotype, you got the XX chromosomes, XY chromosomes, and so on. You can't change that, right? You got your phenotype. You can change your phenotypical sex. Like that's how bottom surgery works. You can change your hormone.
Run that one back by me again, Naira. How does it work?
Do you consider their sex to still be female?
It kind of depends if they medically transitioned.
Medical transitioning does not change your fucking gametes. It doesn't change your RNA. It doesn't change your DNA. It is what they do to stop the trauma of, if you are a male, creating a gash that will never properly heal, that you have to dilate, or B, creating a homunculi of the physical male sexual expressive organ that feels like, I'll say nicely, pork and beans. And not like chunky pork and beans, but like canned pork and beans. Little stringy bits of pork and bacon, and like an emulsion of brown sugar spice over the beans. Perhaps I'm being too graphic. That's not what medical transitioning is.
So okay, when it comes to transitioning, right? You got your genotype, you got the XX chromosomes, XY chromosomes, and so on. You can't change that, right? You got your phenotype. You can change your phenotypical sex. Like that's how bottom surgery works. you can change.
You can change your phenotypical sex type by slicing it fucking off, guys. Every woman that has ever gotten labiaplasty, did you know that you were becoming trans? Did you know when you trimmed your beef curtains, ladies, you were becoming transgender? Nice crack. Oh.
Into your hormonal levels, right? Like if you go on HRT, your hormones are changing, adjusting, and what else? Obviously, like when it comes to like gametes, you can nullify them. Right now, we do not have like the.
You cannot nullify your gametes. What crackpot science are you trying to refer to?
The technology to basically have like someone with like male reproductive organs to switch to someone having female reproductive organs with like large gametes and whatnot. But like I do not produce any gametes, so they're basically null. They don't exist. So if you go through like the medical transitioning, you get closer to the other sex.
But it wouldn't be biological though, right? Like you would still be like in the example I gave, the female to male transgender would still be. First of all, I have to ask: is there do you think there's a difference between the term transsexual and transgender? Are those different?
Yeah, transsexual is like an outdated term, and it comes from transmedicalism. Basically, like you are changing your.
No, it was just another term for somebody being it. So, it's because if it came for transmedicalism, tell me, why is it in the Rocky Horror Picture Show? Carl, what does that have to do with anything? If it came from transmedicalism, you just created a new definition for how a person could read that film. If it didn't come from transmedicalism, I'm about to pull out John Money and peel your whole entire shit back, cuz. So, here's your choice. You can either identify and claim John Money, or peeling your dome piece back. You choose! You decide!
Sex.
Which you don't think is possible.
Energy.
I mean, you get close to the other.
But it's not the same still,
like,
though, right?
What your, I mean, it depends what your goalpost is.
Like their I guess the
like, is your goalpost in order to like for like an MTF trans person that they are like quote unquote biological women requires them to be able to get pregnant?
Well,
yes, because a biological woman has the capacity. It does not mean that to be a woman you must spawn. That is again a social construct upon society. Most people would claim you're not truly a woman until you become a mother because you haven't truly fully experienced every single frame of reference to what it means to have the analog of femininity. The same way you could say that a man is not a man until he has produced. Which in itself is retarded, but, you know, argumentation is argumentation. Take these strings in stride with the arguments that you'd like to make to apply them. But it would be dumb as fuck, bro. Well, yes, Tusky. That's the point I was making. That's the trap that I put there. Yes. Let's back up really quick. So, transsexual, transgender, transsexual. These are interchangeable terms. It's just like the switch that happened between gay becoming the difference of the old-timey phrase of exacerbatedly happy to a way to describe when a woman loves a woman and a man loves a man, as these terms did not get outmoded, but instead adapted with the times that they were brought for. By claiming that it's an outmoded term, you go back to pieces of work that are effectively treated as camp. And you need to now basically completely disavow every case example of any famous piece of gay, camp, social media that would be an introduction to this lifestyle choice as being outmoded and thus wrong. Or we just simply go to the works of John Money, who created the first intonations of what transgenderism was developed into, and I peel your entire dome piece back. So you either admit to something that every single person inside your culture would say, no, he's retarded, or you absolutely have to take the worst L in existence with the Keynesian exception. The transient exception, as Aiden would say. The exception that basically was, you are not this in-between thing. You are either a man that transitioned or a woman that transitioned. Because the point of transitioning is that you do not stay in this perpetual state. Because to claim transsexual as an outmoded term that could even be close to insensitive or rude prescribes and predates a bunch of different arguments that immediately upon saying them, you now have to defend yourself. Because there's too many cases of precedent where the terms are interchangeable. And that starts getting into legal problems. Work it well enough, you can use this argumentation to basically take away rights. Basically. Because words are words. Words evolve, words change. The etymology of how things occur is how they occur. But what doesn't change is the social dynamic. The social dynamic of the phrases will have existed forever. That's like saying it's a derogatory term to call a Vietnamese trap in a brothel a ladyboy. Vietnamese, Thailand, Korean, to call them a ladyboy would be derogatory. To call somebody a man she-he, like Bo Blacks, derogatory, and so on and so on and so on and so on. If you let Naira work this argumentation, basically any borrow word that could ever be invented, both kind, reclaimed, or explicitly derogatorily rude and intended to be insensitive towards transgenderism, becomes a slur. I'm not giving Naira the ability to slurify words. No. What time is it? 4:49. I'll be right back, chat. I needed my cup. And I return. And yes, that is correct. I swear that has to be Exocrusher's new name. I don't know why it's changed again. There must have been a new update on YouTube. Throwdown, can you please confirm that you are Exocrusher? Or not? At that point, everything that you think of, even the transgenders who are doctors, who meant medical terms for things because that is a slur, then no one's going to talk to you normally. Exactly. Biggest problem that comes with the inability to talk to any person, especially online, especially the permanently online, about transgenderism, or transgender terms, is that they constantly borrow words. Half the fucking problem with most transgender issues comes from the constant gish galloping and just selective retardation they choose when trying to talk and describe shit. So it makes it nearly fucking impossible to have discussions because of the fact they try to change and slurify and decide who has the N-word pass when it comes to transgender topics. I don't know why it's showing a new difference of the moniker. I didn't touch anything. YouTube!
I don't think so, because I feel like there are women included. There are biological women included in the category of people that can't get pregnant. So I wouldn't say so.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not a requirement for someone to be a woman.
The ability to get pregnant?
To get pregnant.
Oh yeah, I know. I never claimed that.
Well, unfortunately, I disagree with you. Both of you. An adult human female is a woman. And a woman, barring medical mishap and biological infertility, has the ability to spawn. It is ridiculous to say differently.
Yeah, I'm just like, so it is just like when it comes to like the hormonal level, you can change that, right? That's how puberty works. That's how, transitioning in that sense works. Why it works is because we're still part of the same species, and depending on like your dominant hormone, you're going to get changes that like reflect the others, sex. So yeah, I believe like biologically,
but it would still be an emulation, correct? Like it's still an emulation of like basically, a FTM is trying to emulate like a biological male, correct? But it's not quite the same. Like even the technology isn't there. Like I would say, like for instance, like let me just to go on the flip side a little bit, just to explain my point. Say we're in the future, right? And we had like the capability of like actually completely changing everything, right? Like the chromosomes and everything. Like I think maybe then you could say that it would be the same thing, but I think like right now it isn't. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, by the way. I just want to be clear. I don't think that it's a bad thing. I'm not saying that like you're disgusting because you're like that.
I mean, emulation is like a rough word. It is just like
I can see that, yeah.
A man who happened to be born female and is transitioning to male, and yes, we do not have the technology to change one's gametes or chromosomes, but it's not required for a FTM, like a trans man to experience male puberty, which you can like induce through hormones.
Okay, so I can go down a little thread here just to kind of gauge how you feel about things, right? So, so you say that you can get surgery, right, to So at what point would you say that a person is because since you believe that you can switch, right? Or you can at least get close. At what level do you think is the point at which the person should be considered the other sex? Just out of curiosity.
Good question. Especially on our answers.
For the purposes of like society, right? Because we live in society, and then there's issues of privacy. People, men want privacy from women, women want privacy from men. That's just kind of how society is structured because of because of sexual things, right?
Sure. So I mean, it kind of depends what your criterion is. Like, I have no issues calling viewing a trans man as a man, even before transitioning, even before doing any like medical thing. But when it comes to like, biological, like the sex of someone, like obviously if you go on HRT and you go through like male puberty and so on, like I have no issues with, like, I wouldn't. You're basically asking me at what point I would call a trans man a male? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. So like for the purposes of like society, right? Because we have male and female for spaces, though? Basically, right? For spaces, like sports,
for
things
spaces.
Like that.
I mean, okay, sports. I know that like the criterion is HRT. Like genitalia doesn't play a role. Okay, let me back up a bit. What is your criteria?
Yeah. What is your criteria for so you said that a person can switch, right? They can be close enough, right? Because again, like we've established, like there's nothing you can do about the biological stuff right now, right? Can we agree on that? Like right now, you can't really do much about
HRT
it.
HRT is part of the biological stuff. It is just you cannot change anything about the chromosomes or gametes.
Okay.
HRT is a part of the biological stuff, and you cannot change the gametes. What is your definition of when a person goes from being male to female? This is not an answer to the question.
So about the chromosomes and gametes, and so there is a difference then, right, between, I guess, a biological. I'm confusing myself going back. A biological man and the
biological,
FTM, right?
Like if you say like the word biological in reference to like trans people, like we are not artificial, we are not like cyborgs.
Oh no, I never said that.
Like everybody, like we're all like biological.
Biological.
So
we are not biological sex beasts. We are not artificial Eldar creations by Selesh, despite how many people choose to act like one.
I mean, categorically.
It kind of like it comes from like transphobic language, so it's like a little bit difficult for me to just like accept that terminology.
I can see that, but like it's not really. It's just for the sake of like reality, right? For the sake of describing reality, right? So like for instance, like we would call like a trans person for a reason, because there's meaning behind it. There's meaning that can be taken from that phrase, right? So it's an issue of meaning, right?
So instead of like the opposite of trans is not biological, it's cis. So if you describe like,
I forgot to unmute the microphone so the phone stopped ringing. Cisgenderism, cisgendered, is a term that was invented alongside most of the social constructs around pronouns as a means of trying to create a new word for what would be the normal binary. Male, female, gay, straight. Going deeper into that goes past this natural norm of LGBTQ. Because queering and being queered is another term itself that replaced metrosexuality. I don't think there was ever a term that described the transition of a woman from the state of straight to the state of queerness where she could approach becoming a sapphic lesbian, a woman who only dates a woman. And, if so, the differences between being femme and being butch, which would be the difference between being a chapstick lesbian and a lipstick lesbian. But, considering everything under the original 4 acronyms, L, G, B, T, a type of gay, a type of gay, a type of gay, a person who's transitioning to become a type of gay. The only difference is that transgender is a person who is asex going to another sex that is now going to date another type of sex. If you were male and transitioned to female, but you now date men as a woman, you're a gay man presenting as a woman with the biological processes of a man, but the social cues, social status, and social grace of a woman. Socially, you're a woman. But physically and scientifically, you were a man. If you were a gay man, you would just be a man that loves a man. When a man loves a man, when a man loves a man. And if you were a lesbian, you would be a woman that loves a woman. And all the social decorum that comes with that, including the bridal beating and the encouragement from modern society. And with bisexuality, you are the first interrelation into the middle of queerness and straightness. Because you're not quite straight, but you're not quite gay. You like both. Both of them. B-O-F-F-U-M. Both of them. Both of them. You like both genders. Transgender is the outlier. For some reason, Ira, you don't have an answer on how you fit transgenderism into a normal perspective without gish-galloping between medical definitions and social definitions as a part of the social contract of polite society. Why is that?
Like, if you want to compare like trans men to cis men, I think that's like easier for me instead of like trans men versus biological men.
So is
or
it
real men?
But it is biological though, right? It is an issue of biology.
Everything
right?
is. I mean, everything is like biological, but like the opposite of trans is cis.
So then you say something like the opposite of transsexual or transgender is cisgendered, but it's not. I wouldn't need to, nor would it occur to me for that to be the case. What makes you say this? And why is it brain dead? That was an invention.
The opposite of trans is cis.
Yeah, and you can hear the confusion in the fucking voice.
Yeah, someone whose gender identity matches their sex.
But
Most people's gender identity matches their sex because most people's gender identity is sex is yes please. It is the dumbest thing for you to say, Naira. Because that's just being normal for people. Which then makes the biological imperative, once again, the standard norm.
But you're understanding that there's a difference, correct? It's like even between
Of course,
trans and cis.
like
there's a
trans,
difference. Okay.
Yeah, trans men are not cis men.
So is the issue that people have specifically, like, what is the issue specifically with the differentiation?
It is basically like saying they are gay men and real men and normal men.
So it's the language of normal, basically. The language of normal, biological. It's because it feels bad, basically.
It is basic. I mean, it doesn't feel bad. It's just like objectively false. It is just the fact that like the terminology is basically to basically invalidate gender identity and like the difference between gender and sex.
Okay.
And
It doesn't invalidate gender identity for you to be able to identify that. You spurglord.
it to like it is like calling me a biological male instead of a trans woman.
I think the reason why is because just in terms of language, when people speak as to the biology, it has to do with, I think people see it as like how you were born, basically, right? The biological reality. So like we can try to, again, like I said, we can try to change that as much as we can, like through science, in the same way like you can do plastic surgery, right, to change like how you look.
Sure. So I just like, I would prefer if like for the sake of like make it easier and clearer, instead of calling cis men biological men, you just call them cis men.
So it's
okay.
So this is all an issue of so this is an issue of like feelings, basically. Like it hurts the feelings to be categorized as outside of, like, say, we'll just use woman. So to be categorized from outside of like that word specifically, because you wouldn't have a problem. And sorry if I'm speaking to you. If you want, I can speak to as someone else, and we can use that. It's kind of a little bit roundabout.
No, you can talk about me.
But so you have no problem with being called a trans woman, though, right?
Yeah.
You have no problem with that, but you have a problem with someone saying that you're biologically not that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's factually like incorrect. Like I'm still a biological woman. I'm still human.
But
I'm still human. I don't know. What's a human? And then after you answer what a human is, what's a man? And then after you answer what a man, what's a woman? It's so fun.
well,
Right?
well, I mean,
I'm
I
not a
see
cyborg.
in here. I think it's an issue of semantics, really, right? Because
So
I
the
think
thing is, like-
most people don't see it that way. Most people, when they talk about biological woman, they think of a woman in terms of, how do I explain it in an airtight way? They think of a woman in terms of, you know, a human female, basically. Yes, that's what I mean.
Yeah, so the thing is, like, the term biological woman, or reducing trans people to their gametes, etc., like that is basically like transphobic rhetoric. That is like the root of these things, and I do not want to like normalize this.
Okay, I have
and
a
it's also like
Go
it
ahead.
is sociologically and it's scientifically, like in biology and whatnot, it's like not accurate
Okay.
to use these terms, and it's basically in order to like other and justify othering of trans people.
Okay, so I have a question, and it's kind of mean, but like I 100% don't mean it in a meme way. Like I swear I'm not trying to meme. It is a meme question, but like I want to know, for the sake of definition, what would you consider to be a woman? What is a woman?
Okay. Let me. So, a woman is a societal category of gender.
We're already off to a great fucking start. Oh my god. A woman is a sociological construct by society. Okay. Start it over again. People who placed your bets, please cash in your chips.
Consider to be a woman. What is a woman?
Okay. Let me. So, a woman is a societal category of gender, which is typically attributed to the adult human female. Someone who identifies with this.
As the adult human female. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a person that identifies as... A woman is a person that identifies as an adult human female.
Yeah, someone who basically identifies with the societal construct that is typically associated and attributed to the adult human female.
Okay, so
now they're having to use the actual definition of what a woman is. But now it's a gender construct of what a woman is in this context. Cope. Full cope.
what is an adult human female? I'm really not memeing, by the way. I'm...
The correct answer to this question, by the way, is a woman. If a woman is an adult human female, then an adult human female should be a woman. By the standard that Naira has just set up here, a woman is a gender expression created by polite society as a shorthand for what would be determined as female. So, whatever answer they give to what is an adult human female now has to be something that correlates with the worldview that was just constructed from the sincerity politics in Naira's original answers.
I'm actually trying to define this so that we can have a deeper conversation about it. I know it sounds kind of mean, but I'm not. I'm really not.
So, I mean,
The laughing is starting. They don't have a reply for this.
A grown human who was assigned to female sex, who produces, like, you know, female gametes, large gametes.
Mm-hmm. So,
You know?
so according to that, then would you say that a trans woman wouldn't be an adult human female?
I mean, okay.
It really is just loud German sweating! Oh, man. Watch the moment of impact.
About it. I know it sounds kind of mean, but I'm not. I'm really not.
So, I mean, a grown human who was assigned to female sex, who produces, like, you know, female gametes, large gametes.
Mm-hmm. So,
You know?
so according to that, then would you say that a trans woman wouldn't be an adult human female?
I mean, okay. It wouldn't impact whether or not someone is a woman, right? Like, a trans woman just needs to, like, it's like a social construct, and you have, like, certain things that are attributed to those of the female sex. Like, it kind of depends, like, what you consider to be female again, and what do you, like,
Yeah, which
what
is
do you
why I'm.
view as like valid? Because like intersex people exist, right? If you are saying, oh,
Yeah, it's an
adult
anomaly.
female, someone with XX chromosomes, well, they are males with XX chromosomes, right? When the SRY gene that is like responsible for one's gonads to drop in the womb is low.
What a wonderfully medical term there. Gonads. All this colorful language that you're using, Naira, and almost none of it is the same language that any person uses when they refer to these things on the medical level. Come on, I thought all transgender people are supposed to be experts on the medical side of things, bro.
Located on the X chromosome. That happens, right? So obviously the genotype is not. It doesn't matter.
So
right? It can't be used as like an invalidation.
but that wouldn't affect like for instance that wouldn't because I think we would consider that to be an anomalous issue. Like for instance, right? Like if you have humans, right? Humans are we're born in a certain way usually, right? Like if a person is missing an arm, it doesn't mean that humans don't have arms, right? If a person's born with an arm, it doesn't mean that like humans don't have arms, right? It's just it's a genetic anomaly, right? And I'm not saying it's bad, by the way. I'm not saying it's bad.
Yeah, but are you saying that like someone who has like a missing arm is not human?
No.
Obviously, nobody would say that a person who's missing an arm is not human. They were born with 2 arms. The fact that they then lost an arm does not change the fact that they are a human male amputee or a human female amputee. The problem we're trying to address here, Naira, is whether or not you think a person is male or female after birth or from birth, and with the assignment language, whether or not it is possible for you to have a conversation about deep gender topics and issues while you are stammering over your answer.
I didn't say that trans people aren't human though.
So a requirement to be a human is not to have arms.
No, to be like to be
A requirement to be human is not to have arms. Who the fuck said this?
Hold on, can you say it again? Sorry.
Like it's not a requirement to be human, like for a human to have arms.
Is that a
To be
requirement?
considered human.
No, it is not a requirement for a human to be born human to have arms because they are already born human. That is correct, Naira. However, how did you get here with talking about the amount of arms a person needs to have?
No.
So the thing is like when you are using like the norm, the 99% in order to like make a definition, and you're saying, oh, every woman has XX chromosomes, and then someone comes along and breaks that rule.
He's reaching for the intersex. Any person who bet on that particular proportion, please cash in your chips.
That means the definition is by default false.
Well, no, they would be. They would be. I guess if there was a person that had like a chromosomal anomaly, we would say that. Let's say that they basically were a woman, right? So we would say that they're a woman with an intersex condition. In the same way, I would say that it would be like a trans woman, right? It's like a different thing. But I don't think trans people are bad. I just think it's a different thing.
Sure. So okay. Okay. Do you think like it's a requirement for a woman to be female?
Yes! That's the basic answer. Now, of course, the transgender answer is a bunch of gobbledygook, but, you know.
A woman to be female.
Yeah. Do you think it's a requirement for someone's gender identity?
For the purposes of
a
sex,
woman?
yes. For the purpose of sex. But I think like let me clarify. So I think if for the purposes of like sex determination, biologically speaking, from like a position of truth, yes. But I think if a person like you, for example, wants to live as a woman, I would be okay with that. Does that make sense? Even though it's not the same, I think you still deserve the dignity and respect and the freedom to live how you want. of course, like, we would have to reconcile that with society's needs as well. But I would be okay with that, even if it's different. I don't really think it's like I would still call you. I would still if we were we were friends in real life. And I knew you, and I knew that you were like I knew that you were trans. I would have no problem calling you she.
Sure, it's a courtesy. It's not something that I should expect, though. It is just because you're nice.
I think it's. Yeah, I think so.
Do you see the problem with that?
Explain.
So, okay. If you do not view, like, you're basically saying that, like, trans women aren't women.
So, like, for instance, right? Like, if I had a friend and his name was Chris, and he told me, could you call me Joe instead? It'd be kind of like that. Does that make sense? Because again, like, we're speaking as to the biological reality that we were talking about earlier, right? Which is why I said that there was a difference. Does that make sense?
What is the biological reality?
That a woman is an adult human female.
A woman is a societal, like, it's a social category of gender.
Here we go again with this bullshit.
A woman is a social category of gender. Okay, so would it change then if I said, okay, so if I were to change it and say that, if I were to just say that you are, and I don't mean this offense. This is just for the argument. I wouldn't call you this, like, outside of this argument. But if I were to say that you were an adult human male, how would that be accurate?
That is not accurate.
Okay. See, this is where I'm confused.
Yeah. I mean, I think the main confusion comes from, like, the insisting that, like, biological sex and your gender identity is like, it's like the same thing.
Could we call it something else?
And, like, you're defining gender using sex.
Yeah, because they use kind of the same words, right? That's why I'm trying to find, like, a differentiation here. Like, could we call it something else? Like, for me, I think my terminology would be a trans woman, right? Like, I would say like you, Nyara, are a trans woman. I would say that it's not the same as, like,
call me a woman. You would just call me a woman.
The thing is, like, that wouldn't be, according to, like, again, according to my definition, that wouldn't be technically accurate. But it wouldn't be like.
But it's. I mean, it's just true, though.
do you see what I mean, though? There's an issue. There's a language issue where we, because we're talking about, like, two different things, right? That use similar terminology, right? There's, like, gender, right, which you agree is, like, kind of your perception, and then there's the actual biology, right? Because you can, for instance, like, you can do things to your body to, like, change them, but it's away from the state that it was, like, originally, right? It's, like, kind of like cosmetic in a way, isn't it?
Do you believe in the soul?
Yeah.
Do you think that, like, your soul has a gender, like a sex or whatnot?
The shape of soul argument came up, and I didn't even have that on the bingo card. I'm so sad. I could have won 5,000 imaginary Carlito Fun Bucks. We're about to get parasocial here, if we haven't already.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty deep. I don't know. Maybe.
So, the thing is, like, gender identity, you can, like, kind of view it as, like, your soul's gender, and you basically got, like, put into a body, into, like, some flesh suit, which also has
terrible.
like a sex.
Sounds terrible for that to be mismatched.
Exactly. And
yeah,
that's
I agree.
Kind of like how I feel.
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
Exactly.
That sounds terrible. I wish it didn't happen.
And
Okay, so we're gonna let him repeat that.
Can like kind of view it as like
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. That's pretty deep. I don't know. Maybe.
so. The thing is, like, gender identity, you can like kind of view it as like your soul's gender, and you basically got like put into a body, into like a flesh suit. Which
Gender identity is when your soul gets put into the wrong flesh homunculi, and you're forced to live in a prison of bone and sinew. Because your soul has a shape, and when it's in the wrong cosmic prison, it makes your soul want to die so that it can be released from said prison. Is that what you just said? Is that the curveball we're throwing into the conversation here? I want to see how she navigates this. I want to see how she navigates this. Because the correct response is to call him a fucking loon. Regardless of how esoteric you want this argument to sound, this would be why I called him a fucking loon.
which also has
Sounds terrible.
like a sex.
Sounds terrible for that to be mismatched.
Exactly. And
I
that's
agree.
kind of like how I feel.
Yeah, it sounds terrible.
Exactly.
It sounds terrible. I wish it didn't happen.
And there's just like this mismatch, and
Like if I could,
gender is just like your gender identity is like in your brain. Your sense of self is in your brain. And I don't know what explanation you wanna like use for it. If you wanna
Well-
think that like
Why would she need to use an explanation for it? It's your fucking framework!
trans is like an intersex condition of like the brain, that like during
Transgenderism is not an intersex condition of the brain.
your development phase of the brain.
do we have proof of that? I'm just
difference-
curious. Like, is there actual proof that it's an intersex condition of the brain? I don't know. I've never heard that.
There is some research, but it's like really
No, don't say there's some research, but it's really murky. No. Put a study in my hand. Study in my hand, little man. No. Put it in my hand. Put it in my hand. I want to see a study in my hand. Where's the study about how this is a metaphysical expansion of how your brain physically makes you have to experience dysphoria because you have the wrong shaped soul in your fucking flesh prison? I want a study. I want 5 studies. I want them peer-reviewed. I want my studies peer-reviewed, and I would like them to be explained to me by Aiden while I eat a bundle of grapes. Because this is beyond stupid, what you just fucking said. Do you have a single shred of peer-reviewed evidence to back up the shit you just claimed? I don't want to hear nothing that has two-spirit on it. Nada.
difficult because like the thing is like it is really difficult because it's still making being trans out to be something binary. To be like, oh, you're
If you are transgender, you feel and your body says that you're in the wrong shape. By using Naira's expansion, apparently it's when your brain knows that the shape of your soul doesn't match your form. Hey now, I was born as a man. Why do I have double D titties all of a sudden? How am I supposed to be able to breed people when I instead have the parts to get bred? It's only 4 or 5 minutes and 21 seconds, and it's already gone off the fucking rail. It's already gone off the fucking rail.
But like, your brain is female, and you're stuck in a male body, which can make it like really difficult. But like, I'm just like trying to like maybe help you understand it a little bit better by just like using simple like terminology.
None of this terminology is simple.
Even if it's like the concept of gender is like, it's difficult, right? Because it's like a spectrum, and gender identity, like you can be non-binary, agender, and whatnot. And I just like,
Sex is not a spectrum. Gender is not a spectrum. Gender expression is a spectrum. You could choose to identify as straight. You could choose to identify and thus dress as gay. You could choose to identify and fashion yourself and your wardrobe as metrosexual. Anything from single-player Carl when he is not dressed up, to single-player Carl when he is being lazy, to Shining Nathan and beyond. Jeffree Star, what have you. Doji, what have you. Timothy Chalamet, and what have you. You can't answer these questions because you're making it so complex to sound like the state of being transgender is like your soul is stuck in the warp. That's the simple fact. None of this is simple because you're overcomplexing it. You just can't tell the truth. That's sad.
think that like
what is the... Actually, I don't want to go into that. I might go into a completely different rabbit hole. So I guess what I'd like to say is I think that I think the confusion here is between gender and sex. Mm-hmm. So you think so? Again, I just want to reiterate. You think that they're different, right? Like gender is how you
they're different.
perceive yourself. Sex would be
they are
your
interlinked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're interlinked, but they're not the same thing.
Mm. So they're interlinked, but they're not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you think that there's... I'm trying to find where the disconnect here is, because I can see the disconnect.
So you use a gendered term, woman.
Yes.
And you define it using someone's sex,
But
which is causing issues.
this was an issue of definition, because I think most people would consider a woman to be, you know, a human female in reference to the state at which they are born. Basically, the people would... So humans come in like basically two configurations unless there's an anomaly, correct?
I mean, so the thing is like, you're basically using outdated terms, and you're like kind of like insistent on using these terms, and
Okay.
I think it's just it makes it like really difficult to talk, because you know, we're basically like running in circles.
Yeah. I see that.
Going over like the same stuff because of like the fundamental like misunderstanding of like gender not being the same thing as like someone's sex.
So you said that a woman is an adult human female, right?
Mm-hmm. No.
What is that then? I thought that's what you said.
A woman.
Okay.
A woman is like a social category.
Right. That's
gender.
what you said. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
Which is typically attributed to those
to what?
of the female sex.
So
Yeah.
so the female sex. So it's attributed to those of the female sex. What is that?
So do you know like different cultures, different time periods have like a different idea of what a woman is, like what a woman has to be like?
Well, most actually, if you were to look at that, most societies actually just had male and female. There were a couple outliers, right? But then, like for instance, if I were to say, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, like something like
Like Indians,
how do I say this?
Native Americans.
like if you're like no, I just like mean in general. Like for example, like blue used to be like
What do you mean in general, referring to words?
the girl's color, right?
Blue and pink were always colors for children's toys. The standardization of boys is blue and pink is girls happened during a time period where there was already gender expression norms being enforced upon the genders. To say otherwise is crack. To say otherwise is crack in this hypothetical. Toys. But okay. Alright. Not navigating really yourself out of this one, Naira, but okay. Alright. We'll take that answer.
And pink used to be like the boy's color, and that changed.
Yeah, what's that have to do with it?
Different cultures. So okay. The thing is, like, because it's like a societal thing, it is kind of like a based, like it's very dependent on like the culture that you grow up in, like what your idea, what your concept of like what women have to fulfill, like what is a woman. Like early on as a kid, you kind of learn that like girls wear dresses and boys go outdoors and they are running around and whatnot. Like you kind of learn how to like differentiate, right? Like girls have long hair, boys have short hair. This is obviously like
what is the difference between those two though? What is the difference between a boy and a girl? Because you said that girls do one thing, boys do one thing. What's the difference between them? Why? What? Yeah. What is the difference between them?
I mean, that is just like patriarchal stuff. That is like being like people being forced into boxes and like reduced to labels in order to like control their identities. Like their like in general, the difference between a boy and a girl is their gender identity.
Their gender identity is not their genitalia.
No. Like their gender identity, their sense of self, that is different, right?
So a sense of self. So if you had so a girl's sense of self would be what? That would make her a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would her sense of self be? The girl. So you know, you said that boys and girls, you know, they do different things when they're kids, right? Am I misunderstanding you?
I mean, no, I'm just like using it as an example how like certain labels are being used in order to like dictate what other what children have to like be like. It's basically like social conditioning. Right? Social conditioning. That is like kind of like the point that like you are being taught like if you're a boy, you have to behave a certain way, and if you're a girl, you have to behave a certain way.
So what is different about girls that makes people say they have to behave in a certain way different from boys?
I mean, people use the phenotype that they were observed of having in order to basically put a label on them and then define who they are.
Got it. So it's the phenotype when they're born that makes
but
the
it's
determination.
Like, it is used to like label other people for them, right? Like a baby is not able to
used to label other people for them. Put a pin in that one. We're gonna come back to that later.
To communicate, like it doesn't have like a sense of self. Or like a sense of like gender identity at this age. So but like when they're like 7 and whatnot, gender dysphoria can manifest.
So, sorry, I'm kind of focused on what was said earlier. So, what you're saying is that what the actions that like is typically would be associated with girls, with young girls, is the things that young phenotypical girls would like? Is that kind of what you, or what society says that young phenotypical girls should like?
Yeah. So when you are born, right? A doctor is basically telling your parents, if you're a boy or girl, or like that happens in the womb as well and whatnot. But like, you know, basically like the phenotype is observed. Obviously, intersex people exist. Intersex babies exist.
Yep.
That's like a whole like rabbit hole. But
How's it a rabbit hole? The doctor assigns your gender at birth, I thought. But it happens in the womb. So they know what gender you are before you're born. Which happens when you're developing in the womb. I'm surprised they didn't go the angle of saying we're all women until we are cursed with the XY. Very interesting.
and now there are parents who basically force gender on their baby before they can even like voice who they are.
So eugenics? Because voice who they are implies the child is not anything but a child. So there are parents who force their gender on their baby, period. You either mean eugenics, which I doubt I doubt actual proper conversation about eugenics is going to come up here. If it does, it's going to be something along the terms of, and we should have the ability to find out if children are gay, queer, or transgender before they're born, so that they can properly be given the fair amount of treatment. So some shit like that. But we're either on the path to eugenics, to the path that the parents aren't allowing children to be transgender, and I got a surprise for you. It is the parents' job to not let their children get groomed into this. Because most people that are transgender were not born that way. Because transgenderism and transtrenderism is a fad trend that happens specifically to get children that were easily manipulated into the philosophy. Because most transgenders are not born, they're made. Which is to say they're converted. This is not going to go to a happy place.
Basically like, oh, I'm going to like paint the room pink because my doctor told me I'm having a girl. Mm-hmm. Kind of, right?
I painted the nursery pink because I'm having a girl. Therefore, the use of colors has forced their gender assignment to be confirmed female, period. Hard lock-in. Because the paint determines the final sex, of course.
That's like it's like a societal thing, like, and then you're being taught that you have to like that. You're basically being taught you have to behave a certain way. Right? Mm-hmm. And
Go on.
that can align, right? There are girls who like pink. There are girls who like unicorns and so on. Like that happens. But like when you have like this mismatch, but you're being reduced, you're being defined by this observation of your phenotype, you can have issues.
So like,
Because you
I have been observed in the superposition of playing with my dollies. That means that when a girl has her first experience with another lesbian on an L-shaped couch, actually, her boy spirit will finally activate Mega Spirit Fusion Evolution, and when they attempt to queer digivolve into a bottom-based slut, that actually means that they'll finally be able to awaken their true soul. Is that what we're supposed to understand here? This is where you will want to break out your alcohol, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have it, please pour it and drink it. You're going to need it. It's not going to get any better from here. By the way, 54 minutes, 25 seconds. If you bit for under an hour, please collect your chips.
gender identity doesn't match.
So like,
obviously, like gender expression is also like a whole thing, right? How you express your gender identity, that can also vary.
so how would you be able to tell the difference? I suppose. So like, if you had, so you're saying that that you can have like girls, for instance, right, that act like boys.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't really consider them to be boys, though, right?
Like your gender identity isn't defined by your gender expression, right? Like if you're a boy and you want to wear a skirt and you still identify with the label boy, and you know, then you're a boy. You just like to do things that are stereotypically associated with girls.
Okay, so
Right.
what is the difference between that and a trans person? I'm just, I have an idea. Obviously, I'm just trying to make sure I don't like get ahead of you.
Their gender identity.
So what they say?
Yeah, exactly. Like how they basically feel about themselves.
How they
Feel about like their
feel
identity.
about themselves.
Yeah. And like how society perceives them and whatnot.
What do you mean by how society perceives them?
Like there's like obviously for me as like a trans person, like I do have voice dysphoria, for example, and
Yep.
like if I put effort into basically matching the expectations of others of what quote unquote a woman sounds like, so I don't get like misgendered and whatnot. That is basically like me trying to like fit in the box that like society has for women. If that makes sense.
Wouldn't you consider that to be, I guess, emulation though?
So I mean, like the thing is like the thing is like I'm a woman, right? My gender identity is of a woman. There's a specific way, you know, that I would like to sound like, you know. But I feel like I'm getting invalidated and whatnot because I do not match others' expectations.
I see.
And that is like it is
Go ahead.
bringing up like trauma, basically.
Like it makes you feel bad, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like I have to change in order to match others' expectations.
Okay. Do you think then? I mean, I think I kind of see a problem here, not with you, but with just the language. Like, do you think there could be a compromise between people that I guess are people that are trans and like society as a whole? You know, because we get confused about all of these definitions, right? Like, like you see, like there's a confusion here as well, right? Do you think there could be a compromise in which you say, like, well, you know, there's a difference between, you know, trans woman and woman, and that it's not really like worse. It's a different thing. Like, would you
So
be
the
okay with that?
The compromise is basically saying that like a trans woman is not a cis woman, but a trans woman is a woman and a cis woman is a woman.
Yeah. So can we just like
They're
change?
both women, just
Sorry. Can we just change like for instance, like, can we change cis woman to just woman, because that's what most people use. Like, most people don't really know what cis is. So like, if you just change it to like woman and then you say trans woman, I think a lot of people will be less confused, right? And no, you don't
like
think so?
now you're basically like othering. You're basically saying there are
Isn't it the same thing?
women and there are women,
Isn't
right? In order to like instead of like referring to white women as white women, you say that like, oh, they're just women, and then you have black women.
This still
That
says
is
woman
basically,
though,
like, what
right?
you're doing with like trans people.
Isn't it the same thing though? Like isn't cis woman the same thing? Because you're saying like that they're a cis woman, meaning like they were born as a woman, and then you say trans woman, and then it's like a completely different thing. They both have
Good pickup. You noticed the problem too. Let's see how Naira gets out of this argumentation.
No.
women, and they both express as such,
Yeah.
but then it's different things, right? Like isn't
Yeah,
it
but,
the
like,
same thing as like woman and trans woman? I guess I don't see the difference, right? Like to me, it
is-
seems the same.
Okay, how does it sound like when I'm going to say that like they are gay women, and instead of saying okay, there are no straight women, they are just women. They are gay women and then women. Is that like something that, you know?
I don't really think I would.
Does that like make sense to you?
I mean,
What I'm like trying to get at?
like I think if if all of society had that kind of terminology already, for the sake of differentiation, right? Because language is about understanding, and I think everybody, when they talk about women, most people, and this isn't like, people online, people like us that know like these lingos, right? Like most people don't know that. So I think like there's just a lot of confusion with it, because most people see the term woman as being, like how you would say a cis woman.
Sure. How, like, in what context does it actually play a role that I'm a trans woman? Why can I not
Where
just
does
be
it
like
play a
included
role?
as like woman?
It's more for specificity, I suppose, for
What
the
do you need to
purpose
like
of language.
specify?
Well, like for instance, if let's say you were going to go to the doctor, right? And then the doctor was like, well,
Sure.
are you I need to know like male or female, and then you put female, they're going to be confused, right? Because there's special needs, like there's special needs that, like, for instance, like not just trans women,
yeah.
but trans men also have special needs, right? So it's kind of a way to differentiate between the two, right? And again, I'm not saying that trans women are worse. Like, that's not me saying that. I'm just saying it's like
Sure.
a differentiation of
am-
language.
Obviously, in the medical field, it plays a role because that's where the distinction between trans and cis actually can have like certain implications and whatnot. But like in a like just a casual sense, like are you going to like, would you like introduce me to like a friend as like a trans woman?
Why would they introduce you as a trans woman when you are trying to achieve being a woman? They would just introduce you as a woman!
Like, would I do
Like,
that?
oh hey, that's Nyara, she's a trans woman.
Let me think. Would I do that actually?
Also, more importantly, why would they do that? Politely speaking, that is not their job. Their job is not to decide to take away your ability to decide who you choose to tell and not tell, assuming that it's not rape, by the way, if you are or are not transgender. Because then that behooves the fact that if you can't be able to decide when you do or don't tell somebody about your transgender status, that actually it is something that should be seen as a mark of shame. So why would you ask if they go out of the way to say, hey, here's this trans person that I know? The entire goal is to become basically sightless. Become sightless, not be noticed, not be seen.
I actually don't think I would. I'm trying to think, like, would I do that? Would I do that? Or introducing you, if I knew you. So I actually, I'm not very social, so it's I have to really put myself out of the box to think about this one. But I don't think I would, unless they
would
like
that
asked,
play
maybe, like
a
they might
role?
ask, like maybe in that case I would say, but like I don't think I normally would. I don't think it's I don't think it's relevant, basically.
Yeah, exactly, it's not relevant. So you could just refer to me as a woman instead of like a trans woman.
Well, I mean,
that's kind of like what I'm getting
okay.
at, right?
But
like the
see,
distinction.
Sorry, go ahead. I'll let you go first. Go ahead.
Like the distinction between trans women and cis women just play a role in like the medical sense, but like in the societal sense, it doesn't.
Also, if we're
play a
talking
role.
about that specifically, if we're talking about gender stuff first specifically, then you would say like,
Sure, if you're having
in
a
the
conversation
context,
about
in the
like
context.
trans women,
yeah, it would
Sure.
depend on the context, basically, right? So in the context of like, if we were talking about you and gender stuff, then yeah, you would say like that Yara is a trans woman. Yeah. For the purposes
if that's like
of
relevant
definition.
to the
Yeah.
would you introduce a cis woman as just a woman though?
If they identify as a woman, yes. None of these are hard questions to answer, bro. Not a single one of them is hard.
Well, I mean, it's kind of weird. I
this is
wouldn't
my
really
friend,
say
she's a
that.
woman.
I wouldn't say. I would just say like. I'd probably just say like, oh, this is my friend. I'd probably use her name, right? Most of the time.
Yeah, but like if like gender is like actually like playing a role, would you like would you say that, oh, she's a cis woman?
Well, see, and I
Or
think
would you say, oh, she's just a woman?
see, I think in most cases you would go with that. I think the case, and this might lead into like a different discussion. A case in which it might be important is if it's like a case of like accommodations, right?
What do you mean?
Like for instance, if you
That's a long pregnant pause.
had if you had like a locker room scenario, for instance, right? Yeah,
Assuming people want to be in a locker room with Naira TV in a state of undress.
it might be an issue if there's some kind of. What do you think they should do about that? Actually, just out of curiosity.
I mean, okay. I believe when you go, like, let's just use the bathrooms and whatnot. I believe you should just go into like the bathroom where you, I guess, kind of like fit in based on your gender expression.
So like
I go into the women's restroom.
so part of my language,
I
if
stand
a
out when I
person
go into the men's restroom.
so part of my language, but if a person has a dick, and they walk into the women's locker room, do you think that could cause a problem?
Why would it?
Because they have a dick.
Are you like waving it around?
Well, yeah, they're walking around they're walking around, yeah, because you walk around naked in the locker room sometimes, right? Some people do that. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a locker room
That's crazy.
person.
Yeah, me neither. Like I went into.
You don't seem like a sports person, Naira, so why would you be walking around the locker room?
You know, when I went to the gym, I went into like men's locker rooms, and I didn't show people my genitalia.
But like a person could, right? So like people do like take their clothes off in the locker room, correct?
Sure.
Yeah. So like, what if a trans person did that? Like a person you would consider like, you know, male to female trans, and then they just like took it all off, just like boom, like, you know, dick, little girl there, adult female there, and then they just see dick. Sorry, I'm not trying to be crude,
I don't
but like
think that's happening.
no, but they could though.
Real. Like I don't.
So what if it did happen? So imagine a scenario in which it does occur. Then what should happen in that case?
I mean, if some
Jail! That person goes to jail! They get to experience jail! Jail.
one is going to, you know, go into the
It's happened before
locker
though.
room and like expose themselves, like, and it's just very like,
Well,
you know, on
it's
the
not even
nose,
about.
then they
It's not
should-
even about them,
then
right?
They should be kicked out.
Well, it's not even about them because women also like, right? Because when you're in the locker room, people, right? We agreed earlier that people undress in the locker room, right? So let's say the
Where do you
person's not
think I
even.
should go? Where do you think I should go?
I don't know. I don't know. I think if you were to ask me, it would depend on a couple factors. I think it depends on. So, you know what? Let's shelve that for now. We'll talk about that later because I actually have thought about that. So I can like kind of tell you how I feel about it.
Okay.
But in the case of the locker room, right? When you have the people undressing in the locker room, and then you have the people in the locker room, and then the person just takes their clothes off and it's just dick. Like, is that what do you think about? Like, is that okay? Like, is it okay for like people to feel uncomfortable? Do you think that's unreasonable that they're uncomfortable?
Honestly, I'm uncomfortable when I go into like women's spaces and I have like someone.
Why would you feel uncomfortable going into a woman's space if you identify as a woman? Why would you feel uncomfortable going into a women's space if you identify as a woman?
You know, just show boobs.
Wouldn't your soul know that you belong there?
And expose themselves and like you know, when I used to go into the men's restroom, like I was uncomfortable, you know, when like some old guy is just like letting it hang, obviously. But I'm just like in general like really uncomfortable with people like exposing themselves like that. And I'm just like when I go into the women's like when I go into like the locker room, I just like find a corner and I'm just like doing the quickest like switch, and then I get out of there. Like I'm not like hanging out. I'm not, but you know, I'm just like curious, like how this like plays a role. It is just you're trying to use like acceptance in order to justify kicking trans women out of.
Well, I mean, it's happening.
It's not the means of an exception. The example of something like the 1% rule on rape would be that example. This is somebody asking you, how do you move through the dynamics of the social conquest of bread? And you don't have a fucking answer, Naira. And when you give an answer, it's wishy-washy and it's gish-gallopy.
Happened before, right? So I feel like it's something that has to be addressed because it's something that has happened. So
that would individually be addressed, sure.
Okay, so how would they be individually addressed? So like, say you had, again, say there's a trans person, and they go into the locker room, and there's a bunch of we'll use language for specificity, right? So there's cis women in the locker room, and then the trans woman takes off her clothes, and then it's like everyone can see, that.
So you mean like
The
someone
snake,
who
the serpent,
is
the anaconda.
pre-transition?
Yes. I suppose. I don't know what constitutes transition, but
like
yeah.
I'm a be real as someone who has been like in the trans community for quite some time and who has like a community. I know so
Press X to doubt.
many people who avoid spaces like that, especially if they're like pre-transition and they do not match like societal expectations of what like a woman like. So it's just like it's like a really specific.
But there could be a person like that, right? There could be a person like that.
There are a lot of like perverted, people, right?
Like you?
Yeah.
That's just, and I just like strongly believe that like the staff would just have to like handle it. If,
So you
if
think they
someone is
could?
like literally going in there and they're just like waving it around for like an hour or 2 hours, just
Well,
for,
like
the
an
fun of
hour,
it,
just
I
like
think
at
they should-
all.
I think they should just be like,
So you're for that then? So like, say a trans person goes in, they say I'm trans. They take off their clothes and it's a dick, and then the people are uncomfortable, and then they call the staff. You think the staff should just kick them out?
it had like I would have to like know what actually went down, because we know that like a lot of like transphobic people tend to like exaggerate of like how uncomfortable this one.
Transphobic people exaggerate when they see somebody exposing themselves of the genitals. So, it must be that therefore, people lie, therefore, we can't trust it, therefore, I can't give an answer about how I would feel if I were to be a person in front of somebody who pornographically exposes themselves in the women's locker room, because I feel uncomfortable in the women's locker room. So, in another situation where it might be co-ed or something, I can't be able to identify and address whether or not I feel bad about this particular consequence of conversation that is the fault of my own arguments and language. While you, Naira, are the biggest fucking social freak. Bigger than even Anna Volans themselves when it comes to personalities that are transgender online. But okay. Okay, whatever you say.
One trans person made them. Like we saw this in the UK recently with I don't know what the store was called. There was like a trans woman working there, and they were like lying about like what the trans woman did. Like she was just like doing her job, asking, if they needed help, and the woman was like outraged, being like, "Oh, this is grotesque. They're making me uncomfortable," and asked my daughter to do like a bra test, and it was like a huge spectacle. So people were just like lying about it, and
I do not believe this case example that you're giving. I would like you to produce an example of the article of that story because that would have been headline news worldwide, especially on Twitter. And I have no recollection of such event. And that would be something you would bring as evidence of that example, wouldn't it, Naira? Did you do any preparation for this debate?
Just like really scared of like giving an answer to like some hypothetical, because we see so often how people are like weaponizing like the outrage and like hysteria in order to other and like go after and
If there's ever a person that weaponizes this conversation and weaponizes the language of discussion, it has been the transgender lobby. The transgender activist lobby. The transgender activist lobby are the ones that have weaponized the language of this culture to stopping people from having normal conversations because you're trying to JonTron the fuck out of them.
Harass trans people.
Here, let me ask a question in regards to this. So, say a person is trans and they're going to, they're trans and they're going to transition. At what point can they use the women's locker room? Like, say, like they decide today, like, I am going to pursue transition because I'm trans. When can they use the women's locker room? Like, at what point?
I mean, it's really individual. Like, I do not want to give you like a cut-off date because like I can't. Like, I'm going to like give you my.
Why can't you give a cutoff date? This is just your opinion, bro. You're not the You're not the gay trans arbiter of the fucking Funky Bunch. What are you talking about? What point do you believe a transgender individual that is male to female has transitioned on their path where it is acceptable for them to consider themselves socially a woman and thus enter into an intimate place of undress, such as a personal private locker room for the female gender? When? 3 months on HRT, 6 months on HRT, a year on HRT with social transitioning and feminization surgery. What is the dollar amount? What is the time? What is the dollar amount and what is the time? Mother, you yada yada way too goddamn much. Unfortunately, it is 6:09, and I can feel myself getting irritated, but also being put to fucking sleep. So here's what we're gonna do, chat. I'm going to break this up into parts. Today's part went from where to where. 112 from start to here. Since this is a 4-hour debate, basically, I'm gonna practically break this up into 2 to 3 parts, with today being part 1. And we're gonna pick up on this because I need to go prepare dinner, and then I think I need to lay my ass the fuck down. So that's what we're gonna do here. Fucking Christ almighty. So, what have we learned so far about Naira's positions on transgenderism? We've learned Naira Deeds believes that transgenderism is when you have a soul that's the wrong gender in the wrong body in a homunculi. And they prescribe to a social standard of mandating language. And they use nicety politics and polite society and the expectations in polite society to control the language and behavior of people around them. When asked in the affirmative if they can be able to describe what an adult human female and male is, they could not produce an answer and immediately went to Google for an answer to the question, and then still contradicted themselves later because of how inconsistent their desire to use proper political language is. Because they did not have the preparation to have a serious conversation about how people should behave in society. They're not willing to come out with it, obviously. And now, they are stuck trying to define what they cannot give a description for because they know what they're saying is not true. And they know they don't believe what they're saying either. It's just what they chose to say in this debate to possibly win people over, while even still adhering to those social constructions. They believe that a female and a woman is a gender construct. They believe that it is a social manipulative projection of what a female gender is. They subscribe to the idea of gender reassignment surgery being one of the many ways that transgenderism is actually designed. And they also believe that gender reassignment at birth, or gender assignment period at birth, somehow prevents a person from expressing themselves later in life with the expressatory action of their personal identity structure. So, you're born male, the world says that you're male, even though eventually you might transition and become male to female. That's a problem, but they don't have the basic answer for any person that is upon the normal binary, which is male and female, which is straight. The worldview about LGBTQIA plus politics is completely off, and is exclusive to those many formulations of gay and transgender, to the point that they are basically describing the ineffable state of transgenderism, which was pretty much my prediction and my bet, but I bet a penny. So now I have 2 pennies. Alright. I will see you all tomorrow, probably, because I don't think I have the energy after dinner to do this, and it'll be way too late if I wake up at the middle of midnight to do that. Yapping will happen tomorrow as such. Then later in the evening, I believe we'll proceed with this, and we'll see how far we get from there. If we finish it all on the next installment, then that's good. If we don't, then I don't know. And also, can I get a high YouTube? Because this is definitely being handed to Callum to become content. I will keep the VOD live for this up until Callum puts out the full response with all parts, because then it'll be a video and you can watch it from there. AFK check, AFK check, AFK check. Who's paying attention? Who's paying attention? Who's paying attention? And everybody say, I'm sorry, Callum, because he's going to have to edit through all this bullshit from Naira TV. Alright. Get your chats in, get your chats in, get your chats in. A couple of reminders. We are transitioning into next content. Those of you that were with us in Once Human, I apologize if you've been behind and or could not find the time to play. You'll want to do a couple of missions and quests to get yourself to max level and try and get some money so that you can be able to at least cash out on the scenario before the server closes and ends. For those that are interested in Path of Exile 2, the premiere event for the live stream reveal will be on December 4th. And then the free weekend that is at the start of the beginning of the league begins on the 12th, and the free 3-day weekend of playtime ends on the 15th at the top of the business hour in New Zealand. So if you don't have the money to pay for the $30 early access, this is your opportunity to try the game out. And that's about it. Comments, questions, concerns, please send them to the inbox, join the Discord, join the community, become a member of the Negrohood, and get your time share. Become a part of the Negrohood Home Association Society. And I will see you all next time. Oh! And don't forget to stretch your legs and knees. And don't forget your alcohol in case you guys need to drink yourself to sleep. Alright, okay, thanks, bye!